Oh my God, I'm feeling this champagne. Getting
I
champagne
know.
drunk is something else.
Me too. Champagne drunk is like, hello.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip on some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello. Hey. Well, first start off wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Because if you're listening to this, it's the Christmas season and it will be
Yes.
almost Christmas time. So Merry Christmas, listeners.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
We thought we would get in this season and combine two of our favorite things, Christmas and a good old slasher film. So we just watched the 2016 Better Watch Out. This movie is about Ashley, who goes to the home of the people that she's babysat for quite some time. She's babysitting their 12-year-old son, Luke. And while they're there, some spooky things start to happen. What we think is a home invader goes awry, and Ashley and Luke are at a battle to fight through the night.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, and can I just say, quick disclaimer, I absolutely love this movie.
Yes.
Me too.
If you haven't watched it, I will actually say pause the podcast and go watch it. Don't look up anything. Don't watch a trailer.
No.
Don't read any more descriptions, reviews, anything. Pause right now, go watch it, and then come back. And that will be our warning because we will definitely have spoilers coming.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but this is a great movie. And especially this time of year, if you are an all horror movie fan or just enjoy a good slasher film, go and watch this movie because
Or a Christmas film.
or a good
both.
Christmas film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great Christmas
agree.
time.
I went in with such low expectations and I genuinely really like this movie.
Yes. Because I didn't know what to expect, but even just the opening credits with that classic Christmas font that it has.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. I love
know.
it.
I feel like it looked like the font from A Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Or
Mhm.
maybe I think that's the movie I'm thinking of. But yeah, it looks very just classic and wholesome, and then
Yes.
immediately goes into one kid ruining another kid's snowman and her calling him a butt fucker, and
Yes.
it takes you right out of that wholesomeness real quick.
Yep.
And I guess I feel like we usually like to talk about the first time we watched it, but didn't we watch this together?
We did. So we watched it last year, I think.
Yeah.
Was
I
it
remember
just
when we
last
first
year?
watched it. Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, we all watched it together before we started the podcast, but
Mhm.
had our spooky movie club. It was just a spooky movie club movie that we
Yeah.
watched
Yep.
back in the good old days.
And I totally forget why we watched it. Do you guys remember?
Yes, because we wanted a Christmas horror movie.
Yes.
And we had heard of there's like the Krampus one,
Yeah.
but we were like, what else could we do? So we just looked up a list and
That's
this was
right.
on there.
And I
So
think
we
it
just
had,
stumbled.
I think it had pretty good reviews, right?
It did. It did
Yeah.
have good reviews. So yeah,
That's
we just
right.
kind of stumbled across it.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh, it did not disappoint.
No. No. So I
Okay.
guess we already kind of talked about the opening scene.
Right.
But yeah, should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's just jump right in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think it gets what I really thought was cool about this movie is that except for the opening scene, it all takes place in the house. So like the first couple of minutes is her going to the house, but within a minute or so, we're in the house. And from that moment on, we stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, I know that's one thing that the director in an interview, he was really worried about that because he was worried that the movie would feel claustrophobic because it is like 90% of the movie, you're in the house or within like 20 feet of the house.
Yes.
Like you're there the whole time. So he was really worried that they wouldn't be able to get like enough angles or enough variety where the movie would almost feel like boring because you're just staring at the same spot. But they were able to come up with like a really good layout, I think, where it was a nice open concept. So they really tried to make it so every shot that they took, they had like another room in the background or something to make it feel a little bigger. And I think they actually did a good job with it. While watching the movie, I didn't think it was too like claustrophobic or repetitive, even though it was all in one spot.
I didn't get that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I never would have thought that until you're saying it right now. I thought, oh yeah, I guess it was all just in the house. But
and if anything, I actually
like
think that like lends a hand to the feeling of the vibe of the movie. Like it is a claustrophobic feeling. And so I think that's okay. Like, yeah.
So it is all in the house except for, okay, so we kind of talked about, the first scene is outside of the house. And basically there's a babysitter and she's basically driving to the house to go babysit. And as she's driving, like there's all these it feels really wholesome. And there's all these like carolers and it's just like this, classic Christmas vibe. But then, and this is a question I have for you both, because I don't know that they ever answered this. There's an ominous car following the babysitter.
Yes. I noticed that this
and
time.
And then she gets to the house and eventually we're going to talk about what all happens and who the bad guys are. But I don't think they ever explained who was in the car following her. Did they?
Well, something I picked up on this time was that like they made some comment during it that they almost made it seem like Jeremy was obsessed with her or something. So I almost wonder if we're like supposed to think it's one of her boyfriends.
One of her boyfriends.
It could have been. Okay, I will say, and maybe this is jumping ahead because I wonder if they're connected at all. And I could have just totally missed it. Who delivered the pizza?
Yes. Where did that come from too? Because that was one of my questions. Yes. Early on in the movie, a pizza delivery comes. And I had thought maybe this is my hypothesis.
Okay.
So the kid, Luke, is trying to build a scary night because we find out very early on, he's the one that's setting this shit up. Like he's trying to scare his babysitter. So I thought maybe he secretly ordered the pizza and pretended like he didn't to try to make the night seem scarier.
But it was my actual ordered pizza.
Yeah.
Like it was just a legitimate delivery that he just set up ahead of time. I could see that.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but it's a weird plot hole.
It's a weird scene too. Like, because I agree in the beginning, it definitely looks like someone's following her. And then the pizza delivery guy is not an average pizza delivery guy. Like he's really creepy. The way that they shoot it, like it makes him seem creepy. The way I feel like even the way that he kind of like looks down, like I don't even know if we see his face ever.
I don't think so.
I couldn't tell who delivered it. Okay, so maybe it was like another ex-stalker thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Very weird.
All right, so we might not get that answered, but basically after that opening scene, it's just a kind of typical night of a babysitter coming to babysit.
Yep.
Now, again, maybe this is just the, child psychologist background in me, but I swore I was like, why is this 14-year-old kid getting a babysitter? Because I didn't look up about the movie. And I swear this kid looked way older than 12. I thought he's got to be at least 14. Yeah. I looked it up. The actor at the time playing it was in fact 14.
Oh, interesting. He does have that perfect like voice change.
Yes.
Makes it a little more believable.
Yeah.
But yes.
So he is playing a 12-year-old. But I was very confused.
Almost 13 in a few months. Okay.
Yeah.
In a few months. So it starts out like kind of average. This babysitter, this beautiful young babysitter comes over. And the dad is a real creep.
Yes, the dad is a creep. Like he's like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Like, don't ever tell the babysitter that she's beautiful. Yeah. Like, just don't." Listen, I was a nanny for 10 years, listeners. Never once would I have appreciated a father greeting me that way. So don't do it. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the movie tries to make it seem like a regular witty banter.
Yeah.
But it's a little creepy.
No, it's very
creepy. Well, and I guess let's talk about the parents.
Yeah, there's supposed to be this tension between the parents, and it kind of lends a little bit to that. And so, yeah, the parents have some tension between them.
Yeah. So like they're getting ready to go out, and the wife, there is very just kind of controlling of everything. Like no one can get anything on her white carpet and she hates her husband's goofy tie. And she's like micromanaging every little thing.
Like what time he goes to bed.
What time he goes to bed. And she ends up mentioning to the babysitter, okay, well, he sleepwalks. So she they do this trick where they like put a pencil on his doorknob so that they know if he leaves his room. But she's like, what he doesn't know won't hurt him. Why would you hide that? Like, the purpose of doing the pencil thing is to find out if he ended up sleepwalking, but they're deliberately lying to him about it and hiding it. And what's the point of that?
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic where they almost treat him a lot younger than he is.
They treat him like an 8-year-old.
Even the opening scene when she walks into the house and he's on the top of the staircase, like cowering in the banister, like a toddler would. Like it was a weird scene where he's acting like this 2-year-old.
Yeah, he looked way younger in that scene for sure. Like when they did that, he looked like a much, much younger kid.
So there's definitely something going on.
I feel like in a lot of times he seemed like he was acting like, and they were treating him like about 8, which there's a lot of things that we'll end up getting to where he, the movie's a lot like Home Alone. There's a lot of like Home Alone references. And Kevin McAllister, as we all know, was left home alone when he was 8. So I wonder if maybe that's part of what they were trying to get at. Like they're making him 12, even though he looked 14, but he acted 8. It's very cute. Very cute.
No, for sure. So one, I guess, just fun fact, since we're talking about the parents and they're kind of quick at the beginning of the movie, the scene where they have that dialogue about the ornaments at the very beginning, that was completely improvised.
Nice.
Yeah. So the 2 actors who played the parent, I mean, that was a huge get for this movie. Because the dad is played by Patrick. Oh my gosh, I've had too much champagne to pronounce this last name.
No, but they're
Warburton. Patrick Warburton from Seinfeld.
And I know him as like the voice of the Family Guy guy. Isn't he one of the dudes in Family Guy? Like the character that's in the wheelchair?
I think he
that
is.
Voice?
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, I think
no
that
idea.
is him.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
he's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh, he's in so much. Yeah.
And
even she.
Yeah, same with the actress that played the mom. I have her name too, Virginia Madsen. I mean, I'm pretty sure she's been nominated for like an Emmy, an Oscar. Like she is. This was a huge get for the movie, and the parent characters weren't really like fully developed.
No, it's just a small.
Yeah. So when the 2 actors came in, because they were so big, like the director really gave them freedom to play around with it and make the characters their own, like what they thought those parents would interact like. And they just kind of came up with that on the spot.
They nailed it.
And they just went with it completely off script and made it into the movie.
They're really dynamic. Cool. I love their dynamic. They were so funny.
Yeah. No, I thought they were fun, even though we only get them for the first, 5 minutes of the movie.
Right. That's awesome.
So early on, parents leave. We've got the weird thing with the pizza that we mentioned. And so and they're watching a horror movie. So like you get the vibe that like there's some scary undertones happening.
Yes. Well, like even before I think maybe they start watching, or maybe it's right as they're starting to watch the movie, you see like this giant spider walking.
Can we just take a second to say, if they wanted to make it a little less obvious that this was filmed in Australia and not America, they should have gotten smaller spiders.
That spider was so big.
There are nowhere in America would that be a normal spider in someone's house.
Do we know what type of spider that was? Because it looked to me like, I've never been to Australia, but it looked to me like, when you see those pictures of a huntsman spider, it was like, size of your head.
That's exactly what they were. They were huntsman spiders.
Okay.
But come on. Like in Australia, that would be nothing. That's like child's play. But in America, that's a freaking tarantula.
Yeah, I would have burnt down that house.
Absolutely.
So they missed the mark on that one, and the doorknob thing.
That's what I was going to say too. The doorknobs. Why are there doorknobs like above my head? I'm 5'5", and I feel like those doorknobs, I would have to reach up to reach them.
Yeah.
Is that how Australian doors are?
I have a funny fact on a fun fact on the doorknobs.
Okay.
So on Reddit, the director responded to someone complaining about the doorknobs. And he basically was like, hey, so look, we did the first day of filming and I didn't even notice the doorknobs until we had literally finished an entire day, like wrapped an entire day of filming. And then I noticed the doorknobs. So we had to leave them in. So that was like the one, it's like his biggest pet peeve about the movie is that the doorknobs give it away that it was filmed in Australia.
I know. I feel so bad for him. Because he doesn't like that. He wanted it to be, I mean, it is the most American Australian movie, right? He wanted this to be an American movie, and it is so distracting. I think when we all watched this the first time, I feel like one of us pointed this out immediately. We're like, what are those doorknobs?
What's wrong with that doorknob?
Why are they so high?
Now, the actress that plays the babysitter, is she also Australian? Because I felt like that was the only other thing. So like she's no Naomi Watts. I mean, she did a great job, but Naomi Watts, like she's Australian, but sounds American when she tries to do an American accent.
Yeah.
This actress, I think she just has a little bit more to go because I could hear it.
The accent, you could hear that.
Every once in a while, I was, that's not an American accent right there.
Yeah. So all of the actors were Australian except for the two actors that played the parents.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else was Australian.
Okay.
Because I did not pick up on an accent from any of the boys. That's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like especially when Ashley in the movie, her real name is Olivia. Oh my God. I looked this up. DeJong.
Okay.
DeJonge.
Yeah, DeJong.
Olivia DeJong. I think especially when she would like scream or like yell, like especially when she was like yelling at Luke at one point in the movie, it would definitely slip kind of like in and out. You could hear a little bit of the Australian accent.
Yeah. Which I mean, I love an Australian accent, but you could just tell that she was not American
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to setting the scene where shit starts to get uncomfortable, at least for me.
Yeah.
So the pizza has come and the kids, for all intents and purposes, are sitting on the couch. No, I'm guessing that Ashley is probably 18 because she's going to move away.
They say she's 5 years older. So if he's 12, she would only be 17.
Okay. Well, because he's almost 13. So
okay, so maybe let's say she's 18.
She's probably,
Yeah.
But either way, she's older. And they're sitting on the couch. And we know that Luke has a crush on her. Right. Yeah. And he decides to pop a bottle of champagne and put some moves on Ashley.
And it's like, I feel that she alternates between kind of belittling him and, putting him down and treating him like a child, a baby, like, come, oh, buddy. But then also sitting really close to him and almost like giving him these signals of flirtation. So she alternates between the two. And so in some ways I kind of get his confusion,
right?
But really, really inappropriate.
She's probably trying to just keep him happy and you know what I mean, like not indulge him, but just be like, okay, I don't want to totally embarrass him, so I'm not gonna shame him. Like, that's probably what she's thinking.
At one point she even says if I were your age I would date you, and it's just, as a babysitter,
right,
it's a little weird.
Very careful.
Okay, so if the roles were reversed, if this was a male babysitter or a same-sex babysitter, male watching another male, a female watching another female,
absolutely
this
not.
Would never fly.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that was a little weird because she definitely drew the line when he was like physical, like tried to kiss her or like, put his hand on her lap and stuff. But there were a few mixed signals in there for sure.
Okay, so this is probably a good time to talk about what we're sipping on, since we talked about what they're sipping on. So tonight, Yvette chose our drink. So Yvette, what are we sipping on?
Yes. So because they're sipping on champagne in this movie, we figured we had to at least have some champagne tonight. I was craving a cocktail. So in search of a champagne cocktail to get us into the Christmas spirit, I found it's called a Strawberry Champagne Tequila Fizz. It is so good. So you essentially just take some chopped strawberries, you throw some sugar on top, you let it sit for like 5 minutes, then you throw some tequila in there, and then you just kind of muddle it for a while, throw some ice, strain it, put some champagne in there, throw some jalapeno on top. It's not sweet because you use real strawberries. So you get like the freshness of the strawberries, but the spice of the jalapeno. It's really good. It reminded me a lot. I've had like a jalapeno beer before. And especially at the end of the drink when the jalapeno has been sitting in there for a while, it reminded me of that a lot. It's really good.
I love a slightly spicy drink, I have to say. It's one of my favorite things. I also love strawberries and champagne. So
classic.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
A good Christmas cocktail.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I thought of when watching this is at first, so Luke opens up the bottle and at first, is her name Ashley? That's her name? Okay. So at first Ashley, the babysitter, is, all, no, Luke, you can't drink that. You can't do that. But then, so she takes it away from him. She like fake pours some down the sink. But then at some point she just gives up and is just, okay, go ahead, drink the whole bottle.
Here is what really bothers me is that I didn't know how to open a bottle of champagne until I was like 25 years old. What 12-year-old knows how to open a bottle of champagne? I'm not buying it. Yes.
I think I had it down by 17. So
I don't buy it.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, but he's 12.
That's the biggest plot hole of the movie is that this 12-year-old could see
what?
Just pop a bottle of champagne.
You know what it is? We'll get to this pretty soon. He did a lot of research on this night and a lot of preparation. He probably researched how to open the bottle.
I fully believe he practiced it.
Yeah.
He did a full practice run of opening the champagne bottle. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's jump back into it. We're going to fast forward a little bit to when some spooky stuff is happening. They're hearing noises, the weird pizza delivery. Right.
And I feel like, and part of what made it feel so spooky is when they're, watching the movie, they're getting the night's kind of starting, is it had, and we've talked a bit about how it gets to kind of an homage, I guess, to Home Alone, but also Scream, because as they're watching the movie, even just the shot, there's a shot from, I think, the outside backyard looking into the house with like the screened door, as she's, preparing to watch the movie with Luke. And it looks and feels like the Scream movie. And then there's the old school phone that rings and she goes to answer, who is this? So that like kind of sets up okay, this isn't just a wholesome, weird Christmas movie. It's now turning into this horror movie vibe.
Yeah, 100. They definitely took from some of those classic horrors. Like I feel like it reminded me of Halloween a little bit too, just because of the babysitter, clearly like a upper middle class American life. It reminded me of a lot of, they definitely pulled from a lot of those like classic horror movies.
Yes.
And like when the pizza gets delivered, there's this creepy light up Santa.
Yes.
That keeps just popping up. Honestly, that was so comical, but so great that they just have this light up creepy Santa and he just pops up in all these rooms and she keeps screaming and it's just freaking her out. It was so good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love the old school throwbacks throughout it. Yes.
So you're hearing like the random noises throughout the house. And so they kind of go to investigate.
And so basically we find out that one of the people that's outside is actually just his friend Garrett, and he scares them and pops in. But then that's not all. We hear a window break and a brick comes through. And then Garrett gets freaked out and runs outside, and it looks like Garrett has died, like gets shot is what it looks like. And this part is all happening pretty fast.
And on the brick, there's a message where it says, "You leave, you die."
Yes. And Garrett leaves and he dies. And so now it's just Ashley and Luke. And we know by now we've seen the intruder in the house. It looks like they've got a big shotgun. So Ashley and Luke are trying to find his dad's gun, and hiding at the same time.
And I will say, I think, and this is one of the things I appreciate about this movie, she does everything right. She tries to call the cops first. And previous to this, Luke ends up, kind of throwing her phone, but he clearly throws it into a fish tank. So her cell phone doesn't work because Luke has destroyed it. She tries the landline that the person, has in a screen.
She does all the right things.
It doesn't work. She then says, okay, let's go on the computer. And the internet, none of the internet works. So I like that she does all of the things I would have done.
And her tires were slashed in our car. She's like, okay, let's just leave. Let's just go to the car. And no, they can't do that either.
So I feel like it's really good because it's so often in horror movies, and I know we've talked about this before, they just do stupid shit. But in this one, she does all the things that, other than the weird, creepy flirtation with the minor.
Right.
Yeah. She does all things I would do.
I feel like this is a good time. What would you do at this point in the movie? There's an intruder in the house. You have a brick that says you leave, you die, no service, no car. What's your strategy here?
When they were sneaking up the stairs and they see the intruder, I know that they think if you leave, you die, but you see the guy. If it had been me, I think that I would have run out of the front door. I would have taken the kid and been like, let's go, and run out the front door to the neighbors. Because all the houses are pretty close.
I think I would have done what she did in trying to kind of hide and wait it out for a bit. I know she had mentioned, like yelling out to the neighbors, but I think I would have kind of tried to hide because I think I would have been too scared to leave. But that, she tried to do that, but then Luke kept messing it up by not listening and then leaving and trying to antagonize the,
What would you have done, Yvette?
Oh, I 100% would have hidden.
Okay.
Because you don't know that it's just one person,
That's
right?
True.
And at this point, you think one person has already died leaving. It's like someone was already waiting outside with a gun and shot one of the kids that you in theory were responsible for.
Yeah.
So I would have 100% tried to hide. I think I would have done that. I would have hidden for a while and maybe try to figure out how many people there actually were and maybe scream. That'd be my strategy.
Okay. So at this point, they're like hiding, but like Laura said, Luke is messing everything up. So finally they're in Luke's bedroom and they're hiding in the closet. One of the toys makes a sound and they're about to be discovered.
There's some good jump scares.
Yes.
Like when the toys make the sound.
Yes.
Or
and right before that, the mask.
Yes. That one really got me. The mask in the closet.
They're hiding in the closet and then she's looking around and all of a sudden there's just this creepy mask. Oh, it's
that one got me good.
Yeah. No, that one got me for sure. The mask got me. That was good.
And so finally something gives away. I think it's the way that he's standing and then the mask that he has on.
Yeah.
And
I noticed it.
Yeah, I think it's the mask, right?
Yeah, I noticed it more this time. They earlier in the scene, they kind of focused around one of the rooms where there were some pictures in frames. And in one of the picture frames, the parents are skiing, I think, and Luke is there with this very obvious or distinct mask.
Yes.
And then she realizes that the quote unquote intruder is wearing that same mask.
And she realizes it's Garrett, Luke's friend. And she's like, are you kidding? And she busts out and just berates both of them.
Yes.
Mercilessly.
I loved that so much.
I love the way she handles that and is like, you two are so messed up. I can't even handle this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of here. Like, you guys, we're done. You're finished.
Calling your parents.
Because she realizes that Luke has set this whole thing up to scare her.
And she says something about, what did you set up this whole elaborate thing just so that, did you think if you did this that it would scare me enough you'd get to second base or something like that?
And he basically is like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and so she's about to go down the stairs, and this is the scene where the movie kind of flips the switch, and Luke just slaps the shit out of her, sending her down the staircase tumbling. And cue the second scene of the movie. And this is kind of where we realize, oh my God, Luke is the bad guy. Like, you already kind of have some feeling that he is to set this thing up. But like, once this moment happens, we realize Luke is not
complete shift.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
definitely.
that you said it that way, because I feel like it was two different movies.
Yes.
It was the movie where it was, these spooky intruders, babysitter trying to, save the kids from it, when really it was just the kids being, shits. And then it's a completely different movie. I mean, they transition it well, but then, the lights turn on and you realize what's really going on.
Yes.
So basically then it cuts to where she wakes up, she comes to, her mascara is all running down her face. She just looks awful. You just see that she's kind of duct taped to a chair. And you see Luke, the kid, and his friend Garrett, and they're just getting high on oxy
and just goofing off,
having a good time.
Yes.
And then honestly, it just evolves from there. And I have to say, like, I have seen a lot of horror movies and a lot of psychological thrillers and a lot of messed up things. I really have. This is one of like the most intense villains.
Oh, so upsetting.
Like, one of like watching this movie, and especially the scenes that follow, like, were some of the most uncomfortable moments in horror film that I have had to bear witness to.
Yeah, just like that truth or dare.
Okay,
scene.
let's talk about the truth or dare scene, because there's a lot, and you'll, listeners, you'll watch it, but let's at least break down the truth or dare scene for our listeners, because whoo, baby,
so uncomfortable. I felt
so
I physically, I was just physically wanted to distance myself from the TV.
Yes.
Because it just feels like it's basically just these young boys who are, 12-ish, and they're just using this 17, 18-year-old woman as this piece of meat. Like, that's all they see her as, is a kind of a sex toy, basically.
Yeah.
And they, it's not a full on, assault necessarily, as in.
No, but it is an assault.
I mean, it is, but
No,
it's not.
No, exactly. It's not like they fully cross that line, but they do cross it, because
they do. I mean, they assault her, they feel her up. But it's just so upsetting.
As the viewer, not knowing what's going to happen next, I think the way that they build this scene is what makes it so uncomfortable. Is that we don't know how far they're going to take it. And like, we already get the vibe that this Luke kid is unhinged. So we're like, how far is this kid going to go? And thank God he only takes it as far as feeling her up, which, like we've said, is a violation, but at least that's where the train stops.
But I only think it stopped because they got interrupted.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I honestly think they would have full on
assaulted
trigger warning.
her.
They would have
Mhm.
full on raped her.
Yeah.
Had they not got it interrupted.
Yeah.
And that's
'cause
what we
that's
were
the
supposed
vibe.
to assume.
And
That's
I
the
think,
vibe.
yeah, as the
Yeah.
viewer,
Mhm.
this is really where he is fully villainized.
Mhm.
Like, this is the scene where this kid is fully now our enemy
Mhm.
Yeah,
as the
Yes.
viewer. Yes.
definitely. Well, should we talk about how they get interrupted?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, the ex-boyfriend that she's
No, the
the current boyfriend.
Yeah.
current boyfriend.
So he comes by with this beautiful bouquet of flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just knocked on the door, right?
Yeah.
And so he was not going away. So Luke went to the door to basically say, get out of here. She doesn't want to talk to you. She's mad at you. She's leaving you. And Ricky was smart enough to say, oh, okay, well, just let me pass these flowers through for her.
Yes.
Through the door. So when he did that, then, Luke is a stupid kid. I do like that. They made him very thoughtful, and he planned a lot of things,
But
and
a
he prepared
child.
for a lot of things, but also
Mhm.
then he made his executive functioning is not developed yet.
Yes.
He made some really dumb choices where
Mhm.
he's, oh, okay, I'll open the door. And then, Ricky barges through.
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing this really loud. I have to say, I loved the music in this movie.
Oh,
Yes.
the Christmas music.
Put me
So
right
that-
in the spirit.
It was so good. And I think even maybe when Ricky was coming in, it wasn't specifically Christmas music, or maybe it was, but
I
it
think
wasn't
it
like
was.
the classic music
Mhm.
you always think of.
Yeah.
But they're playing it super loud, like it's just this nice, wholesome, wonderful
Yes.
evening. They're doing that so that Ricky can't hear Ashley's muffled screaming, because she's got duct tape over her mouth in addition to her arms and stuff. That's why they're having the music play so loud.
And poor Ricky falls right into his trap.
Yes. Yes. They go
Yeah.
upstairs. They have a kerfuffle. What's his name? Luke ends up hitting Ricky in the back of the head with a baseball bat.
Mhm.
But then Ricky's okay. He comes up.
He's
He
resilient.
grabs the baseball bat from him, and you're like, okay, this is where we're going to see Luke maybe come down, right? This is where maybe things are going to take a turn.
Finally.
But Garrett ran upstairs with the gun, and he was able to stop him. And as he gets Ricky to go on his knees, we see Luke whack him in the side of the head, or in the back of the head with the baseball bat again, knocking him out.
Let's not forget the part where he puts a pencil through his cheek. I will say the gore in this, even though it wasn't overdone. Like, the gore was not, for a slasher movie, I say that in air quotes, was not overdone. The gore was good.
It was good.
And getting
It
stabbed in the
grossed me
cheek with a
out.
pencil.
And we've talked about how there's these beautiful kind of just homages, I guess, to these other movies, and that was very very Halloween.
Yes.
Because we recently talked about Halloween, that the listeners know, with the sewing needle to the neck or to the face. It felt very much like that.
Yeah, definitely.
That pencil to the cheek.
So he took poor Ricky down, and now they're both tied up to a chair and out of luck. And we get the feeling that really, even though he's this evil little mastermind, he's just trying to get himself out of the situation. Luke is like, he's just the whole time he's formulating how he can write this off and get himself out of this situation.
Yes.
And I think that's how a lot of this like devolves, and how it gets out of hand is that he's like, how can I get myself out of this situation?
Yeah. And I will say in the scene, another PSA about your garbage disposal: don't try to put an entire flower bouquet down your garbage disposal. It will 100% wreck it, and you will get a clog.
So. I would think so.
As he was doing that, I just got so much anxiety. Like, just throw it in the trash, throw it in a neighbor's trash can.
Right.
Why
Like,
are you putting this down a garbage
It decomposes. You don't need to. Yeah. I mean, it
I know.
do it. It's frozen for a while.
But like, come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Ridiculous.
So yeah.
I will say, I think it was during that scene that Luke had, I thought the actor that played Luke did a phenomenal job.
Oh, yes.
And I thought that he had one of the best evil laughs we've heard in a really long time.
Yes.
It was this mix of a childlike with just that kind of adult evil or mature evil, I guess I'll say, vibe. It was a very good, just evil laugh that he had.
Yes.
So it was very good.
So I feel like a lot of times on our podcast, we talk about the deaths and the kills. So I feel like we should get into that.
Let's get into
I feel like let's get into the first kill.
Yeah.
So basically, Garrett and Luke are trying to get themselves out of this situation. Garrett gets high, which Luke freaks out about because he thinks his mom is going to notice the smell, and that's what will give it away. And he's like, okay, well, now we got to get rid of Ricky.
Yes.
Like, this is it. We got to get rid of him.
Yes.
And this is the scene that, like, I literally still think about this.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Sometimes and again,
I physically gasped. Like, I was like hand to mouth.
I just know what you're about to talk about.
So it's the homage to Home Alone.
He Home Aloned him.
Where he Home Aloned him.
Oh.
I did kind of appreciate the kid logic, that they threw in the movie of he's clearly committing so many crimes.
Yes.
But because his friend is smoking pot and he knows that the smell won't go away, his mom is going to be so mad. That is what throws him off.
It makes more sense to kill someone.
Yep.
Yes.
To murder someone and have a dead body in your home than the smell of marijuana.
And frame him for smoking.
Yet,
frame him.
A 12/13-year-old, I remember that probably would have also made sense.
Right? No, it's kid logic, and that's why it works. It takes you in the mind of a 12-year-old where for some reason that would make sense.
Okay, so let's jump back. Just a second.
Yeah. So
the disgusting scene, because like we said, Ricky has been stabbed through the cheek with a pencil. And because they're getting high, Luke realizes, oh, well, we need there to be marijuana in Ricky's system. So they need him to smoke the joint. And this is where they force him to smoke the joint. But because of the hole in his cheek, that's where the smoke comes out. And it is, it reminded me of in Beetlejuice when the one character has the tracheotomy hole.
Yes, the one
that's
goes.
what it made me think of.
Yes. So that starts out like kind of he's dead at this point because they're framing him for being high. They've got this, and you can tell that Luke has just fully let out his evil personality at this point because he is loving this. He is so excited about the fact that Ricky has smoke coming out of the side of his cheek. He's like, that is so cool. Like, he doesn't care at all. He thinks it's just amazing.
So fast forward to the scene where it's about to go down and he's going to Home Alone this guy because him and Garrett had a debate of whether throwing a paint can down a flight of stairs, like down a level of stairs, whether that impact could kill someone.
Or knock them back if it would hurt them or like just push them back like you see in the movie.
Well, spoiler alert, listeners, it kills the guy. And it is one of those scenes where they don't show, I love the way they handled the gore. They don't show the impact. We just see the paint can explode and the yellow paint start to slide down. And then all of a sudden blood is mixed in with it. And we know as the audience that this guy's face has just been.
Yes.
It looks like ketchup and mustard.
And Ashley and Garrett's reaction too, I think is part of what sells it. Like she looks
amazing,
shocked and like heartbroken, like she's about to cry but is angry. It is that's honestly part of what sells it.
I think that's like her shining moment as an actress is that scene right there.
Oh, but it's so good. So, do we want a fun fact?
Yes.
About this? So because, Luke and Garrett have this debate about would it kill someone or would it knock them back? And then in their real life experiment, it clearly I feel like just mushes the guy's face in.
Oh yeah.
So I did a little Google searching about this. And I watched this really kind of fun interview. Fun. That was weird of me to say, but this fun interview of these doctors, and they talked about all of the booby traps that Kevin McAllister does in Home Alone and what they would do to a real person. And they talk about the fact that a full paint can from the 2-story height, that, swinging into a person's face would absolutely knock out teeth, possibly concave, or I can't think of
concave.
the word, but basically go into your orbital socket, so your eyeballs would come out, and lead to brain damage, death, disfigurement. So doctors and scientists do agree with this movie that it would be, but not necessarily fatal, but definitely could be fatal, and for sure miserable.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah. It seems like maybe they got it more accurate than Home Alone.
Yeah.
Maybe in Kevin McAllister, maybe in Home Alone, he was using mostly empty paint cans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can assume that.
True.
I have paint cans
either
in my
way,
home.
horrifying.
They've all mostly been or partially been used. Like I don't have any full paint cans in my house. They're all like the leftovers from
That's
painting.
true.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
right.
do you guys want to know how they shot this?
Yes,
this scene. So the way that they did this is they shot it separately, which, makes a lot of sense. So they shot basically the top half of Luke on top of the stairs, throwing the paint can over. And then there was just no one basically downstairs while they shot that.
That's safe.
And then separately, they shot the bottom, which is Ricky in the chair, and then Ashley and Garrett reacting to it, because they don't actually show they don't show the impact. So all you see is the paint and blood getting mixed up in the bottom. So that's how they were able to shoot it. They just did 2 shots and then kind of combined them together. So
brilliant
movie magic.
And I've said it before, but less is
effective.
more. The fact that they don't show it is so much more effective than if they had tried to do some sort of fake showing of it. You know what I mean? Like I so appreciate that they didn't.
Yes. And so the actor who played Ricky, Alex Mikic, I think is his name. He was there for the whole movie. So he spent days covered in paint, because if you notice, he's in the background of a ton of scenes. So he had to spend days covered in blood and not blood, sorry, paint. Just sitting there in a room.
Oh my God.
Because he was in the background of so many scenes after that.
That's true. They couldn't have just used like a fake body for that.
No, it had to be him.
Yep, it had to be him.
That's amazing.
Imagine.
Oh, brilliant. Love it.
All right. So now our next kill.
And that to me was the turn of the movie.
That was because it gets, I'm even trying to think, it gets very fast after that.
She somehow ends up then, I think, with the gun.
Yeah, because she had glass.
Yes.
She got like a piece of glass and cut herself out just as this was happening to Ricky.
So she basically at this point is like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna take matters into my own hands. And she says to, Luke, I'm gonna shoot you. And he's kind of calling her bluff, saying, no, you won't. You wouldn't do that. But then she does.
Yeah, she fires the gun.
She does fire the gun, not at him. I think she fires it up into the air.
Yeah.
To kind of basically show him, I'm not messing around. You need to let me go. And we realize the gun was never loaded.
Of course.
And of course he makes this very like kind of sweet childlike comment about, well, of course my dad, the first thing about gun safety is you never keep the ammunition next to the gun or something like that.
Yeah.
So you realize that this whole time that they've been using this gun to intimidate her has been fake.
Yep. Yeah.
Classic.
Yes.
So yeah, things move along very, very quickly after this.
Yeah, like she runs, she falls,
she tries to run.
She tries to run out. It doesn't work. They bring her right back in. They tie her up again, and they tie her up very cinematically in a bunch of Christmas lights. So she's lit up like
Christmas lights, baby.
A little Christmas tree.
It was so perfect.
It was so perfect.
And at this point, his poor friend Garrett is changed his tune and I think really wants to help her out. So he's like, he's gonna help her escape, and he's being very sweet and tender to her and just trying to help her.
Okay. So Garrett is I think he's still like, he's starting to empathize. He has a bit of empathy. Garrett does. So he's sitting there watching her, as she's like taped up in the Christmas lights. And so I think he's supposed to just be like, I don't know, guarding her.
Right.
Yeah.
But as he's doing that, then the scene with Jeremy.
We get the ex-boyfriend coming in.
Which I have to say, I love Jeremy. I love the way he pulls up in his car, pepping himself up.
Okay. What were your guys' thoughts on Jeremy? Because he was supposed to be unlikable. Clearly that was the original intention, was he was unlikable, this weird ex-boyfriend.
I get it.
I feel like he was a character on the Jersey Shore, was he not?
Yes, it was very Jersey Shore.
Very much seemed like a jabroni.
Yes,
jabroni.
Yes,
but a sweet one. I thought, like, yeah, I could see that he. I don't know. I didn't find him unlikable at all.
I loved him.
Redeeming qualities. Yeah.
I loved his little like pump up speech in the car where he's like, yeah, we're good. We are good. As he's drinking his beer and driving, just like pumping himself up. I actually loved him.
Yeah, I loved him too. So basically he's going to go and win her back. Right. It's his
because
thought.
Luke called him.
So he gets to the house, and I don't remember why he ended up in the backyard.
Luke told him to go through the back.
Told him to go through the backyard.
Okay. So he's in the backyard, and he's thinking he's going to go and hook up with Ashley and make up with her and all of that. And so Luke comes and says, she wants you to apologize first.
Yes.
And Jeremy's like, okay. And so just trying to, again, get inside the house. And Luke says, no, she needs you to write it down. So he hands Jeremy this paper. And I have to say, the very first time I watched this, I was not realizing what was going to happen from it. I didn't think, obviously the second time watching it back, it's a brilliant strategy on Luke's part.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't realizing
12-year-old
going to go. But so basically, Jeremy's writing this I'm sorry note.
And he's writing it basically to frame himself in the suicide, because Luke is setting this up to look like a suicide, which he does. He gets him, he's sitting on this little swing, and Luke puts a noose around his neck and jimmies this contraption.
A snowplow. Wasn't it a snowplow?
Yeah, he tows him.
Yeah, he tows him, and he ends up hanging himself to death. It's perfect because he has just made it look like he has killed Ricky inside and then killed himself. Murder, suicide.
Yeah.
And
no,
it's perfect.
Genius strategy, though.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes. So then cue to the inside scene where Garrett is helping Ashley, trying to get her out.
Like he's helping her. And at some point, I think he gives her a kiss on the cheek.
He does.
And it's very sweet. It's just like, he's just like, oh, Ashley, I'm so sorry. And Luke catches him right in that moment and basically blows him out of the water with a shotgun. And the way that he reacts is brilliant. I loved, there's gotta be this moment I love because he's so mad at Garrett for making him do this.
Yes, exactly. It's not that he was mad that what he had done or that Garrett was dead. He threw a tantrum.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he threw a tantrum. How dare you make me do this to you? It's your fault. Like, it was just an absolute tantrum.
Yep.
And the actor nailed it. He absolutely.
Oh my gosh, this actor is amazing.
The way that he completely loses it, like full tantrum, and you see him like it's almost like he's about to cry, and then he just goes full no feeling.
Catatonic. Yeah,
I was getting sick of him anyway.
Horror movies never get nominated for Oscars because
I know because this could be one.
I agree. I have to say, Luke's acting in this, whoever this kid was amazing.
Yes,
yeah, it's brilliant.
He absolutely nailed that scene specifically.
For sure.
Yeah. So well done.
So well done.
So then we get very quickly into our last and final kill.
Yep.
Where Luke and Ashley are talking, and Luke is talking about how his mom used to rock him to sleep and doesn't anymore. And Ashley says, I know why. And it gets very quiet. And he's like, well, why? And she won't respond. And he's like, tell me, Ashley, say something, say anything. And she won't.
He's like, yell at me, just yell at me.
Something.
Tell me I'm terrible or something.
Yep. Yeah. And she won't. And that's when he goes behind her and slits her throat. And that's it. He has conducted the perfect murder-suicide where he got it to look like Jeremy came in and killed Luke or not Luke, but Ricky and Ashley and Garrett and then killed himself. I mean, it's the perfect.
Yeah, we see him clean up and go and like plant fingerprints. He has his cleaning gloves on. Everything's going according to plan.
Everything perfect.
And then he gets into his little jammies.
His cute little Christmas jammies.
Also, I forgot to mention how much I loved his adorable Christmas sweater earlier.
Did love his
the sweater was good.
His adorable Christmas sweater and then his adorable Christmas jammies. And then he goes up to his room.
He tucks himself in bed, takes a sleeping pill and makes it look like he's just been asleep this whole time. And had no idea. And cue to the parents coming home. And oh my God, can you imagine?
Oh my God.
This is the scene that you find coming home from a night out.
Yeah.
But then we find out at the very end.
Something else he did wrong.
Something else he did wrong was Ashley wasn't dead.
And she flips him off as she's getting into the ambulance.
Off because she is still alive and he is about to get caught.
And I loved the kind of reverse feeling of Home Alone, but also the exact same feeling of Home Alone, where Kevin is in the window and he's wholesomely waving to the old man who's reunited with his family. So Luke is in the window looking out as, Ashley's being wheeled away in the ambulance. And instead of it being that he's, finding these like peaceful feelings toward her, he's watching her, flipping him off, knowing he's about to get fucked.
Yup.
And it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It is so good. And then do you watch the post credits?
Oh, I forgot.
We can tell you. We'll just tell you the post credits.
I always forget.
Okay, so after the credits, then we get back into Luke's room, just like immediately after, where he turns to his mom and says, Mom, I'm worried about Ashley. We should go visit her in the hospital. And that's it. Then it cuts out.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I need to remember.
If it's a horror
always
movie,
wait.
You always have to wait.
Always wait.
We just talked about it in our last episode.
Yeah.
And I still forgot.
Yeah. I guess, okay, thoughts on the ending. What did you think about them ending it in that way?
I loved the ending. I love that they end because we are left as the audience to be like, okay, so is he going to get away with it? Is he going to go and be able to manage to kill her? Or is it going to be too late?
I agree because I normally want the dark and twisty ending. I want everyone to die. I want there to be no hope. I don't know what's wrong with me. That's what I generally prefer.
Yep.
But because this one was mixed, like slasher horror mixed with wholesome Home Alone Christmas, I like that it left with this message of hope. And the good girl gets away. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I was so happy that she seemed to have survived this, because the movie, you see the whole movie and Luke just keeps getting away with it. Like, one, he is smart, but on the other hand, he is just lucky that things keep working out in his favor. So like, I think they needed something for the audience where it isn't just that he just gets away with it at the end too.
Yeah.
You know, I would have been so mad if she hadn't survived this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I loved it.
All right. So now that we've talked plenty about our villain, our psycho, it's time for us to get into our psychoanalysis.
Oh, gosh.
With Dr. Laura. She's not a real doctor, but they aren't real people, so it's okay.
That's true.
So here we are with our psychology analysis with Laura.
Ladies, this is a tough ask this week. There's a lot of psychos in this.
There's a lot.
So yeah, let's see where to begin.
I mean, I think you could just break down our villain. I think let's start with him.
So, our villain, I think that there's a lot going on with him. He's an interesting age, because like I said, I felt like he was a little bit older, but he's actually only 12. So what the distinguishing between a childhood psychopathology and an adult psychopathology is kind of interesting, because I feel like he's right there in the middle. So I would have to say, though, I mean, we talked in a previous episode about the Oedipus complex.
Yes.
But we only briefly alluded to it. So do either of you know much about the Oedipus complex or the history behind that?
You know, in 8th grade, I probably could have told you, but that's been a while. So,
I mean, it's like, it's not really a thing right now, but basically it was where Oedipus was basically this dude who ended up killing his dad because he wanted to sleep with his mom.
Yeah.
And I feel like we talked about this before, that, some characters have kind of had or alluded to this, but with all of the weird sexual tension between the adults and the kids in this movie, I feel like there's maybe some Oedipus stuff that they were referring to.
Okay.
But as far as just a diagnosis for this kid, I mean, I think that he's definitely got conduct disorder, where he basically just breaks rules. He has no empathy. Okay, so here's my psychoanalysis of Luke. We see some red flags right off the bat. Basically just with his lack of empathy, with his extreme sexual behaviors, I guess, toward an older woman. And they even allude to, and we forgot to mention this earlier, but they talk about the fact that he killed his best friend's hamster.
Yes.
And basically animal cruelty. So I do, a lot of evaluations of children, and animal cruelty is one of the ones that, if that has been marked as they do it on some of my checklists or evaluations I do, you've got to immediately follow up.
Yeah.
Like, so basically, if they've forced sex upon someone, Luke did, sexual acts, if they have killed or demonstrated cruelty to animals. So Luke has got some major red flags.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically he's got conduct disorder at this point, easily, for sure. But I think that definitely could develop into some more, I guess, severe kind of disorders into adulthood. But since I don't often work with adults, it's kind of hard, because I feel like he could meet so many different things. He's definitely got personality disorders of some sort.
Okay.
Whether that could be antisocial personality, histrionic, borderline personality disorder. I'm not quite sure because he
needs
a lot
more
of signs,
time.
but also he needs more time to
help.
develop, right? Right.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. I feel like another common theme of this movie was, and this is an uncomfortable thing to talk about, it was pedophilic disorder. So basically there were some pedophiles in this movie. We've got, first of all, the dad who's showing some
a little creepy,
really creepy sexual innuendos toward the babysitter.
I mean, she might be 18, but
still.
She might be, but when she was starting to babysit Luke, she definitely was not.
Right. For sure, because he was 8, so that would have made her 14.
And I don't want to victim blame because this has nothing to do with what Luke ended up doing towards Ashley, but also when you think about it, the fact that she was 17 or 18 and he was 12. Even the slight flirt, like not the slight flirtation, the flirtation that she had with him. I would date you if you were older, sitting next to him on the couch, talking to him about sexual things.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
crosses lines for sure. So, so there's some messed up stuff going on. Yeah. Obviously does not excuse any of the things that happened.
No. Yeah.
And I know in the past we've talked about, some sleep disorders for, night terrors. They also talked a lot about Luke, sleepwalking, which is different than night terrors.
Although
we found out that it was fake.
He's lying. He faked it because they were stealing money.
Yes, they were
mom?
Stealing money from his mom, and to get away with it, he pretended to be sleepwalking.
This kid is so manipulative.
I know.
And here's the thing, working with children, I almost never say a kid is manipulative because even if they are doing something, it always serves a purpose, right? They're doing something to get a need met because it's the best way they have learned how to meet it.
No, but this kid,
he's got antisocial personality disorders up the wazoo. Like he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
I also have to say, I have never in my life working with children or just as a, in the field of psychology, heard of a fetus machine.
Oh my gosh. I was hoping we would talk about that.
I love that that's what they called it.
Fetus machine.
Love that that's what he called it. I mean, I think it's funny because it's just a sound machine, right? But I love that his friend gives him such a hard time for it.
But it's supposed to sound like a womb.
No, exactly.
Sound like a womb. Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
No, it is weird.
And the thing is it that actually is a thing that, as a fetus, you are able to hear things in the womb. So you can hear because fetuses, they'll respond differently to the sound of their mom's voice, or even after they're born, they can tell the difference between their, people speaking in languages that are around them as they've been in the womb versus languages that are not. Spoken around their mom when they're in the womb. So you definitely fetuses, they can hear, they can, perceive that. But having a sound machine emulate the sound of a womb is pretty new to me.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Maybe for a baby.
Yeah, for a baby, I could understand, like a newborn.
Yeah.
No, like that's the thing. Like there's like, that's a real thing, right? Like,
now, does that say more about Luke or his mom?
Yes. Well, that's the other thing. So it's not just Luke. So the mom is also, I mean, we already kind of talked about the fact that she's very controlling. She gets white carpet, first of all. Who gets white carpet?
Nobody gets white carpet.
Our sweet grandma had white carpet, though.
Okay, but she was a grandmother. She didn't have babies and children and a teenager.
And they did treat Luke like he was a baby.
Well, no, but she is a teenager. I mean, Yes.
But Yeah. So she's very controlling, but also very just judgmental and withholding. At one point, Luke is talking
Very
about how all he
withholding.
wants Ashley to do is to yell at him, like,
Mhm.
yell at me, tell me I'm stupid, or tell me I hate me, or you hate me, or something like that. And he just wants reaction. Like he just wants some sort of a reaction, because at this point, any reaction is better than just this cold, distant attitude that this controlling mom has had. But at the same time, this was absolutely not the mom's fault. Something's up with Luke.
Yes. I have to say that acting in this movie is so solid that like it, when I say I love this movie, like I genuinely mean this is a great movie. Like genuinely great movie. Not just, I'm not like saying that to be funny. Like,
it's good. Yeah. And the actor who played Luke, I don't know if we said his name. His name is Levi Miller, the actor. He really was. He absolutely nailed it. And the director was really worried when he wrote the story. I forget if I said this already. He was really worried when he wrote the story that he wrote such a complex character for a 12, 13-year-old. Like it really is. It's focused on this young kid, and he's having a young kid play it. It's not like the actor may have been like 1 or 2 years older, but it's not like he was significantly older or anything. He was
still a kid.
Definitely in that age range. So that's a lot of pressure to put on someone to play like such a complex character. And he nailed it. Like for me, he kind of reminded me of, if anyone's watched like Bates Motel.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Freddie Highmore. He reminded me of him a lot. Yeah.
And really, if you think about it as a movie, it's focused on these two main characters, and then there's a couple of side characters. But really, we've just got these two main characters. If they hadn't have been such phenomenal actors, this would not have been the movie it was.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
At all.
It had potential to be really bad.
Yes.
Like, oh, yeah.
Really
and they made it the movie that it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's one thing that was really cool about the director. Oh my gosh, what is his name? It's Chris something. I literally had it pulled up. We should let me look it up. I don't want to forget his name.
Chris.
Oh my God, what is the name of this movie? Better watch it. The champagne is hitting right now.
I love
Chris Peckover. Just based on a lot of like the interviews that I saw, Chris Peckover, he really gave the actors a lot of input. We talked about the parents, where they were kind of like given kind of like freedom to, just kind of like banter and do what they think the parents would sound like. But I think part of what makes this movie so good is that he got all of the actors, like the child actors, he got their perspective. So in talking to the actors who played Luke and Garrett, like especially at the beginning, he wanted that to actually sound like a conversation that a bunch of 12, 13-year-old boys would have. And it kind of does. Like
it totally does.
They're talking about like Home Alone. Like it kind of like jumps back and forth, but like it sounds like a real conversation.
Yes.
And I feel like he actually like tapped into that mindset of being like a teenager. And it was the same with Ashley, the main actress. She came up with a backstory for everything about her character. So even like talking about the breakup, she was talking about how she would break up with someone because, she would go to their house, for example, and like break up with them there because that way they wouldn't have to drive home after visiting her. And she came up with a whole backstory, and the director absolutely loved it, ran with it, and would even rewrite parts of the script to make it sound like them. And I think that's part of what makes it so good is he really gets that perspective and that they seem like real teenagers, not fake Hollywood teenagers.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally. It's not an adult perception of a teenager. It's a teenager's perception of a teenager.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yes.
I feel like we do need to talk more about Garrett though, because he was a real character. I mean, not just in general. I loved Sweet Garrett. He was a very multifaceted character.
Yeah. So originally, Garrett was not in the script. That character did not exist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't imagine the movie without him.
I can't see it.
And I completely agree. I think that was really smart to add another character to give he was supposed to be kind of like the audience represented in the movie.
Yes.
Kind of like a slight moral compass. I'm so happy that they added him because I thought he was really good. One thing that the director talked about, and like they didn't dive into it in the movie as much as I think he originally wanted, but the director wanted Garrett to kind of represent his childhood. And in his eyes, he saw Garrett as like an actual average 12, 13-year-old. In his mind, Garrett came from probably a lower socioeconomic class than Luke, which you can kind of see from his clothes. They tried to dress him down. Yeah. And, the idea that like they would never really go hang out at Garrett's house. They always hang out at Luke's house. Mm-hmm. And because of that, really just because of him being wealthier, Garrett kind of looks up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that kind of comes from. And I really loved that. I think they did a really good job at making Garrett relatable.
They did.
And like a real character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can see that Luke has the power. And that's just a statement for kind of messed up society right now. But with the money comes the power.
Yes.
And that really Garrett had a lot to offer. Like he was funny, he had a good time, he was, a sweet kid.
Mm-hmm.
But because Luke had all the power, Garrett always just deferred to him.
Yeah, he was able to manipulate him.
Yeah.
Get him to do what he wanted. And,
Definitely.
I think it was that like Garrett probably didn't have too many friends. You could assume. I don't know. I loved Garrett's character.
No, but they did such a good job of making all of the characters multidimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like each character had many sides to them. It wasn't these flat, unbelievable character storylines that you wouldn't buy into. You bought into every character story.
Yeah.
And I like, what a feat.
Yeah. And I know we keep talking about it, but he nailed it too. All of the acting really was incredible in this movie.
Yes.
Okay, well, should we get into a few fun facts real quick? Any that we haven't covered. Okay, wait. Story time. I told you guys about this, that I was going to wait to talk about it on the podcast.
I have been waiting all day.
I have been waiting all day.
I have been so just excited for this.
Ladies, I went on a dive. While I was looking up the movie, from a couple comments here and there, I saw multiple references to a documentary about the making of this movie. Perfect, right? We want fun facts. I need to find the making of this movie. I tried looking it up. Nothing. There's just nothing on the internet. I keep diving, and finally I find it. It's on IMDb. It's called Red Christmas, The Making of Better Watch Out. It has one review, but it's on IMDb, so it must be real, right?
Yes.
It has to exist somewhere out there. I dive in. Reddit has nothing for me. I finally get to the forums. Someone who was clearly in my position was like, where do I find this movie? I know what it's called. I know it exists. One person responded on this forum and said, it's a bonus on the Blu-ray. I said, okay, I'll take their word for it. I'm going to go get the Blu-ray. So I look it up. They don't sell that.
Oh no.
That's not an option. In my mind, I was like, I think I've seen a DVD at Target. Maybe they carry it. They don't.
Is Redbox still a thing?
I don't think it's on Redbox right now.
No.
And all the eBay options were really expensive. One, it couldn't get here in time. But second, it was like $45. Which, who does that?
Get out of here.
Okay, lucky for me, I actually knew exactly who to call because here in Portland, we have a place called Movie Madness, and it's like a DVD rental place that is like actually kind of big here. They have like 80,000,
oh my gosh,
DVDs, like VHSs, whatever. So I gave them a call and I just said, hey, like I'm looking for Better Watch Out in Blu-ray. Do you have it? They said, yeah, we'll hold it for you. Come on in. So I went to Movie Madness. I got a membership. I paid $3 for a 3-day rental, and it was in the bonus. Making Better Watch Out.
Oh my gosh.
This is the best rabbit hole I have heard of in a long time.
I love that you went to a physical store.
Like a Blockbuster.
Yeah. Guys, I don't own a DVD player. For some reason, that didn't cross my mind until later. But luckily, Matt has a PlayStation and that can play Blu-ray. I don't know how to operate a PlayStation. Matt was at work.
This is amazing.
Are you like texting and calling Matt at work? Like,
Matthew, this is
Plugging
important.
stuff into the PlayStation. I was pressing the PlayStation button on the remote. I was like, just turn on.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh, this is incredible. So,
what did you learn?
So I
You ever
found it,
get it
and that's
to
where
work?
most of my fun facts come from. Yeah, so it's like a
fascinating.
50-minute bonus documentary that they added to the Blu-ray.
I need to watch it. Was it good?
Yeah, it was great. They just have like behind the scenes and like interviews, and that's where most of the fun facts that I've already mentioned. Like,
all right, so
where most of them
listeners,
came
if
from.
you can, go get the Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so do you have any more fun facts for us?
Okay, yes, I still have some for you guys. So the original name of this movie was Safe Neighborhood.
What? Oh,
I don't love that.
They had that in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Like something about it being a safe neighborhood. So that must have been like a kitsch that they were.
And in the documentary, they still call it that. So they say like, I'm, whatever from Safe Neighborhood. So they keep referring it to it. They realized that for distribution, that was not the best name and eventually decided to change it. Luckily, someone pointed that out. So that is like the funniest jokes that we all loved this movie. None of us can remember the name.
No.
And coming up with the podcast, we just kept referencing that Christmas movie.
So
I don't know.
I don't know something about it.
It's like I knew it was like a Christmas lyric, but I just couldn't.
Yep.
Couldn't put my finger on it.
Okay, another fun fact. Originally, the movie was going to be shot in the U.S. They were set to go. They were going to shoot in South Carolina. The budget was $500,000. They were ready to go. But the director is half Australian, and someone let him know that there are some very nice tax incentives if you film there. So if you film in Australia, you're able to, I think, get like 40% something like reduced from your taxes. It's like a really good tax incentive to do it there. So they found a new producer who gave them like a significantly higher budget of $3 million.
Nice.
So that was why it ended up moving to Australia.
Nice.
They filmed January, February, which is summer in Australia. So it was 85 degrees.
Oh, weird.
While they were filming this movie.
That's right.
So in order to do that, the whole thing was done in a studio. So they built the house in a studio. This wasn't done like outside or anything. They had fake snow, which was made with paper and gelatin. And unfortunately, there was only one sound stage available where they were shooting, and it was the biggest and the most expensive one. So their budget ended up taking a massive hit right at the beginning. So even though it was 85 degrees out, they could only afford 2 hours of AC.
Oh my gosh.
So it was 85 degrees out. They have all this fake snow, and all of the actors talking about this really weird feeling of it being like 80, 90 degrees, but you see snow. So like your body says you should be cold because you're wearing a coat, and
oh, how odd. No.
That always makes me think of like, those television specials where, I guess that's not a thing anymore, but it used to be a thing where they would have television specials where it would be like, oh, it's Christmas time, but that they were shot 3 months before.
Yeah, like
so
in July.
Definitely not.
Right?
Oh yeah. Talking about the budget, one of the scenes I guess we didn't talk about was when Ashley and Luke are in the attic and she almost falls out and you get the spiders all over her face.
Yes.
So they were already behind on budget, behind on schedule. The director was really worried because the original plan was to have CGI spiders, but it was going to cost them a significant amount of money.
No.
So the actress came out and said she absolutely hated spiders, but she said, if I can save the movie this much money, let's use real spiders.
No.
So those are real huntsman spiders on her face, and they had to do 5 takes.
Oh my gosh.
What a goddess.
Oh, right.
I mean,
so those are real huntsman
woman.
spiders. No.
I couldn't.
Absolutely not.
I can do a lot, but I don't think I could do that.
Right?
It's funny because I had actually written down how much I loved that scene because it made me think again of Home Alone, where there's that scene where there's the spider and, the kid is like whacking it with a crowbar off the guy's chest. But Oh, or I guess the
Right.
other criminal was wacky.
Yeah.
Right. Oh
Still,
my gosh.
holy cow.
Right.
Wow.
I can't. That's it. That's amazing. She is a braver woman than I, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. To quote the director, she has lady balls.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
she crushed it. I don't think I could do that
No.
for anyone, even if
I
I
don't
could
think
save the
so.
movie. I don't know if I could do
Are
it.
huntsman spiders, can they harm humans, or are they?
So I'm pretty sure they are venomous, but
I
I'm
don't
sure they
know.
used some sort of safer spider, some sort of animal
like remove their
handling
poisons or
people.
something?
I'm a, in a movie they have to be safe. So, but they are
Yeah.
gigantic, which to me, like
Oh.
venomous or not, that size of a spider on me.
Yeah, they are venomous, but they're not super dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, just slightly venomous to your
Just a little
face.
bit.
No big deal.
Just a little bit.
wow. Wild.
Oh, okay. And then another one for the Jeremy's death. So the director really wanted most of the hanging scenes that he had seen before, and I kind of agree with him on this one. You usually get the, one shot, they're getting hanged. Second shot, you kind of hear like the neck or something, and it's like, okay,
Right.
they've been hanged. He wanted it to be shot from multiple angles. He wanted it to be like you're really seeing someone get hanged, like from every angle. But unfortunately, it was very challenging because the main actor, Dacre Montgomery, who you might recognize from Stranger Things.
Oh, I was wondering.
Yes.
Stranger Things. So he had to go shoot a movie like the next day. So his agent was like, he cannot get hurt. There is just no way he can get hurt. He has to get on a plane and fly out. So they had to get really creative with their just camera angles and stuff because, I mean, the shots are zoomed into his face. It has to be him. You can't really have like a stunt double.
Right.
So that was a little challenging, but they did some, creative camera work to make it work.
Cool.
So he did have a stunt double, especially for like the dangling legs and like stuff like that, where it did obviously have to be him.
Right.
But that's how they did that. And I feel like that worked. That scene was so good. I'm happy that
scene
he
was
did
great.
that, where
Such a
you
good
really
scene.
see it happen.
Okay, well, I
good
feel like that
thought.
might be a good time to talk about the year because this movie was 2016. And from what we've heard, there's a lot happening that year. So let's dive in.
I remember this
time in
year. I
history.
didn't like it.
I didn't like this year. I didn't. And that's probably why I didn't see this movie because I had a lot of interpersonal shit happening.
This was the year that we stopped living together, Brianna, right?
Which
Wasn't it 2016?
That's a bad
This is what
sign.
happened.
We broke the world.
It
by
all
not living
started
together.
right there.
I apologize.
Oh, sorry, world.
Yeah, it was a year. I was really trying to figure out if maybe like one of you guys wanted to do this, but I guess I'll follow through and do with this time in history.
Okay.
So we should have talked about it ahead of time because then I would have looked it up. All I know is that there was a little bit of an election, I feel like.
Yeah, it was really small.
Somehow
It didn't
I remember
matter
that
anywhere.
little thing of the world
yeah.
ending.
Like mundane.
Well, yeah,
whatever.
we'll knock that out at the top. Donald Trump was elected president in
Dun, dun.
2016.
Done.
Brexit happened. We'll go into that.
Was that 2016?
Yup.
I thought that was later for some reason.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like that just happened.
There were so many things that I didn't realize were in 2016.
Oh my god.
Let's see, maybe the last political one. Obama was the first U.S. president to visit Cuba since 1928.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that was kind of a big deal. I think that's when he visited Utah too. He really saved that one till the end.
Well, that's fair.
It's like maybe in the 8th year.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
That's fine. We
very
don't judge you,
fair.
Obama.
We don't judge you at all.
Beyonce released her 6th album, Lemonade.
Oh yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so that was the silver lining of the year.
Yeah. The top 3 grossing films in 2016 were Finding Dory, which I was really surprised about.
Okay.
I never saw
number-
that one.
I didn't see it either, but apparently everyone else did. Number 2 was Rogue One, the Star Wars movie.
Okay.
Right.
And then number 3 was Captain America: Civil War.
Ugh,
That was a big one for superheroes. Like that's when we got Captain America, we got Batman versus Superman, we got Deadpool, we got Suicide Squad. Over. They just decided this is what you want.
Yeah, it was not what I wanted.
So yeah, that was a big year. Hamilton, the musical, became a big sensation. I still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I haven't either. A field trip one day.
6 years later, we're still not there.
Dang it.
Harambe happened in 2016.
Oh my gosh. Damn. Oh, kids, if you don't know what we're talking about, go Google
it. We are talking about it. Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Did either of you play Pokemon Go?
Proudly never.
I did play.
No.
That was such a wild time. Like people were doing such crazy because I was in college then. And I feel like that was the prime demographic. So like everyone was buying those like external batteries because their phones were dying so quick.
Yeah.
People were driving so dangerously because if you drove slow enough, it thought you were walking. So people were driving like 5 miles an hour on State Street trying to convince the Pokemon Go app that they were walking.
I just have all the people in my life are the primary like demographics for this because I'm close with a lot of nerds.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah.
Classic.
Honestly, it was a fun time. It brought everyone together outside.
Yeah. 2016.
I kind of loved it. I mean,
what a
Pokemon
year.
Go.
I think some of our family members still play Pokemon Go.
I think they do.
Yeah. I think they do.
What a year.
Yeah. And then the last one that was the most shocking to everyone was that the Chicago Cubs actually won the World Series.
Hey. Sports ball.
Yay, sports.
So those were a few of the big ones. I do think we lost a few people that year, like a very famous people. I feel like that was when David Bowie died.
Oh,
that was when Prince died.
Year.
Gene Wilder. Our favorite Gene.
Wait, you mean Gene Hackman?
Willy Wonka himself?
Willy Wonka. No, that is
Yeah. Gene Wilder is
Laura. Gene Wilder is Willy Wonka. Okay.
Anyway, next week we'll be watching Gene Hackman's most popular movie.
Hackman and Willy Wonka.
They're the same person.
No. All right.
Oh, Gene.
So here on Spooky Sips, we do not give stars. We give sips. And I feel like I have a feeling I know what we're all going to give. But let's talk about how many sips we give this movie out of 5 sips. I'll go first. Here's how many I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it 4. This is a really high one for me. I feel like I save my 3.5 plus for the ones I really love. And this is one that I really love. And I'm going to give it a 4 because it's got all the elements of a good horror movie. And the acting is so supreme. I've got to give it a 4.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, similar. I was thinking 4.5. Honestly, I absolutely loved this movie. I loved it the second time. I remember loving it the first time we all watched it together.
Yep.
I don't think there's too much that I can take away from it. The acting was good. The story's pretty good. I felt so much anxiety watching this movie. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Yes.
I agree. I think I'm going to go like right in the middle and give it a 4.25.
Okay, 4.25.
Because you know what I love most about this movie is that it surprised me how much I loved it.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I said this before, I really went into it with low expectations and it just exceeded every one of them. And I felt good watching it. It was like this mix of the spooky and also the just sweet, wholesome Christmas vibe. And they found a way to make those two work in one. And I feel like that's kind of the anomaly that is me. Like I'm like this weird mix of spooky and sweetness. And I just feel like this movie gets it. This movie gets it. It does.
Especially at the beginning, they nail the Christmas movie. Like, I mean, we keep talking about Home Alone and stuff, but like this house could have been the next door neighbors of the house in Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like they nailed the aesthetic. Yes.
Absolutely.
They nailed that aesthetic. Mm-hmm.
No, they did. Oh, so good. All right. Well, listeners, next time on Spooky Sips, we've decided for Christmas that we're going to give you a Christmas gift.
Oh God, are we ready?
No, are we really doing
Are we ready?
We are.
No, that's behind a paywall. If our
Oh, should we set up our Patreon?
Yes, we will be setting up our Patreon this Christmas.
No one should hear that.
Very early on, we recorded a test episode where we drank way too much and we watched Poltergeist.
We thought a double feature was a good idea.
If you thought we were drunk during 7, just you wait till the movie we watched after 7.
So we've decided as a Christmas gift, we're going to give you that.
It's going to be 5 minutes long because that's the only content that we
Just
got.
us giggling.
Spoiler alert, the first 4.5 minutes of the episode are just us laughing. So get ready.
Love it.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, subscribe, and leave a rating or review wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at spookysips_podcast. Thanks again for listening. See you in 2 weeks for a new episode.